Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody, and welcome to the Colors of NT podcast brought to you by the United Muslims of Northern Territory. We're coming to you live from the Marara NT tennis court, where we're currently conducting the Shuyukh Gala Dinner, which is the seniors program which happens in August every year in the Northern Territory. We have with us two special guests to begin this inaugural podcast. And just to give you a bit of an introduction, this podcast is about celebrating multiculturalism within the Northern Territory. And today we'd like to discuss the intersection between multiculturalism and the contribution of seniors to it within the Northern Territory. So we have with us Dr. Waqar here with us today, as well as Dr. Nawaz, who have contributed heavily to the multicultural community of the Northern Territory. So welcome to both of you to our podcast today.
Thank you.
So I suppose I'll go start with you, Dr. Waqar. Can you please introduce yourself to us? I know you've contributed a lot, but I think you're the best person to tell us about what you've done for us in the NT here.
Well, in 1993, I came from University of Queensland from Brisbane. At that time, basically, my main job over here was as an academic in the science faculty in the Northern Territory University at that time. My job was basically to introduce a new discipline, remote sensing, satellite remote sensing, and GIS. That was from the academic point of view. But after having a fairly active academic life for 14 years, over the years what I did was I made a fairly active sort of link with the Darwin Islamic Center. And we used to call at that time a mini United Nations. Because we used to have at least 27 different nationalities people coming to Darwin. So what I have seen over the years, from 1990s, early 90s to now, the significant changes which have taken place in the Darwin community. And I remember that we used to have a very, very small infrastructure in 53 Vanderlyn Drive. And that we used to struggle basically to accommodate people coming from the different nationalities for basically looking after their faith-related activities and to intermix with the other multicultural societies there. The whole idea of the Islamic society was we wanted to strengthen the multicultural fabric because this is a unique community living in the Northern Territory. So there were quite a few challenges. Now I could go back those 25, 30 years ago, what the challenges were and how we basically have transformed into a fairly vibrant, big community which is making a big impact on the Northern Territory living. Now, I remember that in early 90s, so we used to have only 15, 20 people. Now I could see more than 2,000 to 2,500 people coming.
It's amazing.
It's amazing how quickly it has flourished. The biggest achievement actually, the way I see it was how to basically to provide the infrastructure for the incoming migrants from all over the world, especially not only the migrants but also the international students coming from the Muslim countries. So we had to basically challenge ourselves how we could actually with our limited resources could develop that kind of infrastructure at 53 Vanderlyn Drive, which was the land given to us by the Northern Territory government for a 99 years lease. So now I could go back and see when we had one small room. Now we have got a big complex. We got a multicultural community hall there, and we have got quite a decent size praying facilities. Which I'm glad to see that how the students as well as local residents as well as the visitors from the interstate, they are actually utilizing that facility.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us this insight, because as young people, especially coming to the NT, I've just lived here 10 years, so we don't know the history of the efforts that have gone into actually building this community from the grassroots. I'd like to go to Dr. Nawaz as well and get his NT territory story as well, of how he came to the NT and how he's loving living in this wonderful place that we are in.
Thank you so much. You said two special guests. I will say 2 minus 1. One special guest. By the way, when I came here, I was brought by Dr. Wakar. I came here as a PhD student, and he was my supervisor.
Wow.
So I came here 15 years before. But more than supervisor, he was my friend, he was my colleague, he was my buddy. We used to talk a lot, we used to laugh a lot, and we used to visit Islamic Center a lot. The big difference I see, and what I saw at that time, more than academic, he was working for Islamic Center. We used to print the posters and display in this mosque, and I still see after 15 years, 50% of the posters are still hanging there. So I have seen him working a lot in the mosque. On weekends, we used to cut the mango trees and other tree and bush where we have built this Islamic Darwin Center. I could still remember. So I was working with him, and we were cutting the trees all the days, going to the burning, bringing in the tools, involving the community. But the big difference I see, and I'm very happy to see that at that time, 15 years before, when I was in Islamic Center, I saw only elders actively participating in Muslim community work. Thanks to UMNT, I see, and I'm so happy to see the young people like you very active and taking this role. That is the big change what I see.
I think that Nawaz has really pointed out a very interesting point. I still recall that when I came here, there was only, I think, 10 or 12 seniors. Majority of them, basically, they have gone into the earth now. So I'm also on the way. I'm also consider myself as in a dinosaur age. But at that stage, as Nawaz rightly pointed, it was mostly the seniors members who first came here in Darwin after Cyclone Tracy. They were the one actually who was leading at the front. But the big change we see now is it is not the elderly people, it is a younger generation which is really carrying the flag. And that is so good to see. The young people who grew up here, they are doing excellent academically as well as socially, and really carrying this multicultural fabric to its maximum strength. And that is the beauty of living in Northern Territory and seeing that big change from early 90s now to this time period.
I would like to add one thing. Would you tell me the full name of your dad?
Muhammad Raziuddin.
It's Muhammad Raziuddin family. Thank you so much, Raziuddin. You made a big difference for the youth. We should always recognize, and we should never ignore this fact with a team, the difference he has made in the Northern Territory.
That's very true. That's very true.
Thank you so much, guys. So just because you guys have said that back in the day it was mostly the seniors who were contributing to the mosque and doing all the mosque activities, nowadays it's the young people. But as a young person, and when I speak to a lot of young people as well, there's a lot of uncertainty with regards to decision making because we're still developing those abilities. So I suppose like we could benefit from the decisiveness that our seniors had. I mean, even though we're at the forefront now, it's sometimes difficult to make decisions. So based upon that, because if we say we're at the forefront right now, I think we should benefit from the wisdom of our elders as well. That's the Islamic way. That's the most reasonable, most wise way to go proceed with it. So based upon that, I'd ask both of you guys, like, what advice would you have for the young generation coming forward and living in the NT?
Right. Okay. Initially, as I said earlier, our main focus was more on the institutional development. So if there is an infrastructure is there, then the younger generation for the coming years, they should be able to properly benefit by using. So the thing which we struggled, so that the younger generation couldn't actually go through that kind of stress which we experienced at that time. Now, having said that, since the infrastructure is all there, now the challenges are different.
Yes.
Especially after the 9/11, the whole perspective for the Muslim community, not only in Northern Territory, but all over the world, didn't change. There was an identity crisis. There was, so many young related issues there. So when basically the Muslims are being taking the dominant sort of stories in the media, print media as well as electronic media, and that's where the biggest challenge our youth was basically experiencing at that time. And my advice will be, stay faith on your faith, believe on your abilities. One basic principle which I inherited from my elders was, when you are honest, when you are upfront, when you are transparent, and you stick to your values, social values as well as your faith-related values, you have nothing to hide. Be proud of that. And that's what I will recommend basically, that is a golden principle, that in order to keep your identity, maintain that identity, follow that principle. And I tell you, the sky is the limit. Keep going.
Based on that, like, actually, I was just a comment with Dr. Nawaz as well, because like you were a student under Dr. Waqar, and now, so back in the day, you were the young generation.
Yes.
And even if we're bringing you to the seniors table today, like, you are one of those people who've grown up and stayed attached to the mosque and stayed attached to the community, continued to contribute. So I think that's a lesson that we can learn as well, that one day we will be amongst the seniors as well.
That's true.
And we would like one day hope to be like you as well, like continue, stay attached and recognizing our elders and recognizing the contribution that they've made to our lives.
Thank you so much, Asim. Time flies away quickly. You're right. Quickly you will be senior.
Exactly.
I'm senior. I'm now 55. By the way, the 15 years I spent here, when I came in 2006, straightaway I wanted to sit on itikaf in Ramadan al-Mubarak, and I did that. And he was the person who was bringing my sari every day for itikaf days. Whole itikaf days, I could see only 2 or 3 kids in the mosque, and I asked him, are there kids in Darwin? But now it's all totally changed.
Yes.
We see a lot of kids coming to madrasa, working there, playing there, and the youth like you contributing a lot. And I see a positive change. Another, I would come to the point of identity. I think it doesn't matter who you are, be self. Believe in you who are you. Don't be ashamed of who are you. Actually, media, propaganda, by the way, Islamophobia is a reality. We should not take as a concept or approach or something like that. It's a reality. We should realize, and if we can be ourselves and don't be ashamed of stand, and we understand what you're doing is excellent. Be yourself, stand to your values, and prove that this is something you are practicing, it is valuable, and it got its worth rather than being ashamed of. That's my message for the youth.
Absolutely. That's actually such a core message that you both have delivered to us, that staying true to ourselves, believing ourselves. And sometimes it's very difficult nowadays when there's, exactly as you said, the pressure from the media, as well, not just media nowadays actually, but there's like friends and
The work pressure also.
Yeah, work from the work,
Yeah,
from
exactly.
colleagues, from peers, constantly questioning each other. And then there's so many questions about identity on every level, not just religion, but like nowadays it's all sometimes it comes to gender as well. And like, so a person is brought like to question their own being. So I think it's really important, as you guys said, and being pillars of the society, that you guys saying that we have your back essentially, and we are here, and it's our job to maintain our own identity and not be ashamed of it. So that's a really important lesson that we've learned from both of you today. So thank you very much. I think with that we will conclude. I guess maybe if you guys have like last words to say to us.
I would like to say one thing about, you mentioned about the decision making, and part to be careful. Decision making is always like this at all levels, in all communities, at all stages is same. It's a science. Identify the criteria. Look at the stakeholders. Unless you don't take as a science, this crisis will exist. So take as a science that discipline, decision making is whatever is. It has been issue, it will remain issue, but if you don't understand it clearly and don't touch this, it will remain like that. Thank
Now,
you so much.
When I go back to 30 years, now I could see how this younger generation, especially you guys, have taken it over. And you guys are doing far better than what we were at that stage. And I think the credit goes to all of you. And I said, there's nothing more I could see that you guys could do. Whatever you're doing it, do your best and keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
In 2007-8, there was an event for multi-faith. We invited Dr. Abdullah first time, and I know Dr. Abdullah was going to present us first time. He was in Darwin first time, and we were all thinking how he will go. He proved to be an excellent speaker.
Exactly.
But all MCs were either 40 or above 40.
Yes.
We tried hard. We couldn't find even a single young person. I recall that I was MC for one session. Dr. Waqar was MC for other session. I said, now there should be a girl or boy. And we couldn't convince even a single person. Now we see, without saying, we see Asim Razi. We see a lot of other youth. And that is so positive thing. And that's like, so I enjoy this nation so much, and I see as a change.
Not only that, Nawaz, I think when I look at today's function, the young boys, 7, 8 years old, look at the confidence. They were basic, the way they were reciting it.
Alhamdulillah.
They mashallah, they performed. And this is really a big achievement. And that's a main step forward I could see from our generation to the next generation. And I think we should feel proud that whatever we learned, the flag which you have given, they are taking higher and higher and higher.
Credit goes to all persons related to UMNT.
Yep.
They're doing a lot
Excellent
of hard
job.
work.
Yep.
Thank you very much, everybody.
And we see the ground truthing. Practically, we see improvement. We see everything. So thank you so much, all who have contributed to the UMT.
Thanks for the invitation.
Well done.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for your wonderful words. And that's all from our first episode today, and see you next time in our next episode of Colors of NT. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.